We're here with the essential minute-by-minute space weather update for the extreme G5-Storm storm. We are currently experiencing a catastrophic result of a very powerful triple combined solar storm impact. This is unequivocally the most significant and energetic space weather event in years, a high-stakes scenario demanding immediate attention from utility operators, satellite navigators, and anyone living in the higher latitudes. In an unprecedented display of solar aggression over the last 72 hours, the Sun has delivered three distinct, major X-class solar flares, powerful explosions of energy and radiation. Each of these colossal events occurred approximately 25 hours apart, maintaining a highly worrying periodicity. If this pattern continues, we are on high alert, as the potential for a fourth powerful X-class solar flare is high, looming in the very near future, perhaps just hours away. The sequence began with a robust X1.7 class flare, followed closely by an X1.2. The crescendo arrived today with the launch of the X5.1 class flare, which stands as the apex of this triple sequence. It is the fastest moving, the largest in scope, and is officially registered as the sixth strongest solar flare of the current solar cycle, a period that typically spans 11 to 12 years. To put this in historical context, this X5.1 event ranks as the 39th strongest solar flare ever observed since modern record-keeping began. These enormous ejections of solar plasma magnetic field, known as coronal mass ejection CMEs, are now slamming into our planet. Crucially, it's not yet the third most powerful CME that has struck. Instead, we have been hit by an extraordinarily compressed shock region. This phenomenon is created because the third CME is traveling faster than the second, and the second is faster than the first. The combined compacted magnetic fields and plasma form a wall of ultra-high-density material that impacted Earth's magnetosphere with the force of an electromagnetic sledgehammer, instantly catapulting us into a dangerous G5 minus geomagnetic storm classification. To quantify this, let's examine the $HB_30 index, our 30-minute measure of real-time geomagnetic activity. We see multiple bars registering at 8 or higher, with several peak values soaring to 9.33. The HB30 index itself extends beyond 9. While most people are familiar with the KP index, which is a 3-hour measure, what this data unequivocally shows is immense and rapid geomagnetic volatility. This signifies massive, rapid swings in the configuration and strength of Earth's magnetic field, our planet's vital protective shield that guards us from harmful cosmic and solar radiation. The Sun has effectively gone completely berserk over the past 3 days, blasting these massive solar storms out into space from explosions known as solar flares. All three were perfectly aligned for an Earth direct hit, sitting squarely within the ecliptic plane. When these solar storms impact, they trigger the geomagnetic storming. The most visible and beautiful consequence of this extreme energy influx is the aurora. Right now, breathtaking ribbons of energized plasma are flowing across the atmosphere, encircling the planet in both the northern and southern hemispheres. However, the northern hemisphere is currently receiving a spectacular treat, particularly regions of the United States and Europe, as it is the nighttime viewing period. I personally observed the aurora from eastern Pennsylvania a couple of hours ago. While the naked eye showed a red-green hue on the horizon, long exposure photography, even using a modern smartphone for just 3 to 10 seconds, was enough to pull out truly amazing colors and structure. If you are anywhere north of Texas, and people are already capturing photos even that far south, you must go outside. You won't see it in Mexico right now, but up in Oklahoma and Missouri, sightings are excellent. Go outside, face north, and take a long exposure photo, adding a layer of extreme scientific rarity. Today's X5.1 class flare actually triggered what is known as a ground-level enhancement, GLE. These are ultra-rare events. It signifies that the energy coming in from the cosmic environment, specifically the relativistic proton flux, protons, which are positively charged ions, traveling near the speed of light, is so intense that it is raining down all the way to the ground surface. This increases atmospheric conductivity, creating a shower of neutrons and other particles. Historically, we have very few of these on record, only about 77. This event is almost certainly the 78th recorded ground-level enhancement. This represents an absolutely massive amount of energy pouring into the entire planet. Understanding the chaos, technological and biological criticalities. Let's look at the operational implications, which is where things transition from beautiful to seriously dangerous. Behold the magnetic field map, showing the swings from the time before the impact up to the present moment. Observe the normal, subtle fluctuations. Then the activity ramps up slightly, and then, bam, pure chaos. This is the most violent reaction I have ever seen from the specific space weather model. The swings in the magnetic field are rocketing up to 400 nanotesla and beyond. This is not normal. It is a very special, high-energy event we are currently living through. These dramatic magnetic field swings have real-world consequences beyond just the pretty lights. We are currently facing the risks outlined in the G5 extreme storm category. Potential outcomes, though not guaranteed, include blackouts or the complete collapse of power grids. Navigation systems, specifically GPS, may be severely degraded or completely out for hours, if not days. Aurora visibility may be pushed down to incredibly low latitudes, potentially as far south as Florida or southern Texas. The technological risk is proportional to the magnetic field fluctuations. Here's how technology is impacted. Power grid vulnerability. The magnetic field fluctuations generate extremely strong electric currents, known as geomagnetically induced currents, GICs. These GICs can overload power transformers, which have finite voltage tolerances. An intense GIC of 500 volts can take a system offline, blowing out critical infrastructure. If enough transformers fail across a region, the power grid collapses. While initial powerful shock waves, like the EMP effect we just experienced, can knock things offline instantly, the most widespread problems often build up over a period of 6, 12, or 18 hours as the system remains saturated. Satellite drag and failure. The intense plasma density in the space environment, particularly in the plasmasphere where satellites orbit, increases atmospheric drag. This increased friction can cause satellites to deorbit prematurely because they do not have enough fuel for course corrections, leading to them burning up as space junk. Furthermore, powerful voltages can build up within the satellite itself, deep dielectric charging, causing arc discharge, which is essentially a short circuit that renders a satellite inoperable, affecting crucial services like Starlink and telecommunications. There are also significant biological implications. If you understand molecular biology, you know the body is highly conductive. We are essentially sacks of salty water. DNA is conductive, and cellular voltage gradients dictate cell behavior and gene expression. Changes to the overall ambient electromagnetic field environment, even down to the cellular level, can influence gene expression. This energy influx is biologically stressful. The most documented evidence shows an increase in cardiovascular problems, particularly cardiac infarctions, heart attacks, in the elderly and those with heart issues during these extreme storms. Common symptoms also include severe headaches, dizziness, joint pain, vertigo, and digestive upset. Pre-existing conditions like lupus or Lyme disease can increase an individual's biological sensitivity to these extreme energetic events. Real-time data breakdown and the seismic connection. Let's dive into the live data, which tells the full story. Here is our real-time solar wind data for the last 24 hours. Normal values for the interplanetary magnetic field IMF strength BT are around 5 nanotesla. We saw a sudden jump from 5 to 10, a slight initial impact. Then the hammer blow. The IMF strength immediately leaped to 57 nanotesla, over 11 times stronger than normal, with the highest peak I recorded at 63 nanotesla. The critical factor that caused the instant G5 minus classification was the solar wind density, which skyrocketed to 106 particles per cubic centimeter, when normal values are typically in the 3 to 8 range. This represents a massive compressed wall of plasma that swept by the Earth, instantly triggering the destructive EMP effect. Furthermore, the magnetic field configuration connected perfectly to Earth's magnetic field, like a Lego brick, because the crucial southward component, BZ, was in a deep negative polarity, dipping to a low of negative 55 nanotesla. This perfect connection, combined with the extreme density, is a recipe for an extreme geomagnetic storm. The readings are currently chaotic because we are in the thick of it. Switching to the 6-hour view shows that our IMF strength is still sitting at a powerful 45 nanotesla, 9 times stronger than normal. The southward component is currently negative and decreasing further, meaning we are very likely entering the second phase of extreme storming, similar in intensity to the initial shock wave. Power grid failures, if they occur, typically happen after the sustained 6 to 18-hour buildup, so the highest risk window is open right now. Now, a critical point that is often dismissed: the geophysical system. This extreme geomagnetic flux, the S3/S2 radiation storm, and the ground-level enhancement are not helping the global earthquake situation. When you supercharge the entire planet with this kind of energy, it increases the likelihood of a major tectonic event. For example, regions like Japan are currently showing very high probabilities for a megaquake. The scientific mechanism suggests that the increase in conductivity and the massive electric currents flowing through the planet can act as a trigger, unlocking the latent potential energy stored in a fault line. It's like applying a tiny push that causes a rock poised on a ledge to tumble. The ground-level enhancement data is equally dramatic. The neutron count jumped to about a 150% increase at the surface level, registered simultaneously across a broad zone of the Earth, confirming this was a global GLE event. This massive increase in high-energy particle flux charges the troposphere, the layer where we live, and this dramatic change in our background electromagnetic environment affects not only biology, but the underlying geophysical systems. In summary, we are barely 3.5 hours into this extreme event. We have at least 24, if not 48, hours of elevated storming ahead. The auroras are spectacular, visible in much lower latitudes than normal. The threat to power grids, satellites, and navigation systems remains extremely high. This is an all-hands-on-deck space weather emergency. Stay tuned for full analysis and live Q&A. I will also be addressing questions related to Super Thanks donations.